My sister Vanessa didn't call ahead. She just showed up at my house on a Saturday afternoon with her husband Brad and a U-Haul truck idling in my driveway. I was in the kitchen making coffee when the doorbell rang. Opened it to find Vanessa holding a clipboard and wearing what I call her executive decision face, the expression she uses when she's already decided something and is just waiting for everyone else to catch up. "We need to talk about the house," she said, walking past me without invitation. Brad followed, offering an apologetic shrug. He was carrying boxes. "What's going on?" I asked. Vanessa set her clipboard on my dining table, the custom walnut one I'd had made last year, and turned to face me with her hands on her hips. "Okay, so Brad and I have been talking, and this living situation doesn't make sense anymore." "What living situation?" "This house. It's 3,800 square feet. 4 bedrooms. You live here alone. Meanwhile, Brad and I are crammed into a 1,200 square foot condo with Ethan, and we just found out I'm pregnant again." She said this like she was presenting a logical problem with an obvious solution. "This house is too big for you, Maya. It's wasteful." I looked at Brad, who was studiously examining my hardwood floors. "So what are you suggesting?" "We're moving in. Brad and I talked about it. We'll take the master bedroom and the 2 upstairs bedrooms for the kids. You can have the basement, it's already finished, it has its own bathroom, you'll barely notice us." I blinked. "You want to move into my house?" "It's not really your house, though. It was Mom and Dad's house. They left it to both of us when they died. Legally, I have just as much right to it as you do." "That's not how the will worked, Vanessa. The will said you got primary residence. That doesn't mean ownership. That means you get to live here first. But it's still the family home." She picked up her clipboard. "I talked to a lawyer. He said that in the absence of specific language, inherited property is assumed to be shared between siblings unless explicitly stated otherwise." This was a lie. I knew it was a lie because I'd read the will 40 times after our parents died in 2017. The house was left to me, specifically and explicitly. Vanessa got the condo in Boulder, the one she just announced she was abandoning. But I said nothing. "We're being generous here," Vanessa continued. "We could push for you to buy out my half, which would be what, $400,000? But we're family. We'll just share the space. It'll be good for Ethan to have his aunt around." Brad finally spoke. "Vanessa, maybe we should." "Brad and I have already made the decision," she interrupted. "We're moving in today. I wanted to tell you in person as a courtesy, but this is happening." She gestured to the U-Haul. "We hired movers. They'll be here in an hour." I looked at my sister, 3 years older, always louder, always certain she knew what was best, and made a calculation. "When are you planning to move in?" "Today. Tonight. We already gave notice on the condo. We're out by Monday." "I see. Maya, don't make this difficult. This is what Mom and Dad would have wanted. Family taking care of family. Sharing resources." Her voice softened into false sympathy. "You've been alone in this big house for years. Wouldn't it be nice to have people around?" I'd been alone in this house by choice. By design. By carefully maintained peace. But I said, "I need the weekend to clear my stuff out of the upstairs." Vanessa's face lit up. "Really? You okay with this? You've clearly already decided. What's the point of arguing?" She hugged me, actually hugged me, like I'd just done her a tremendous favor. "This is going to be great. You'll see. We're going to be like a real family again." Vanessa and I were never close. She was the golden child, popular, confident, the one who got the scholarships and the awards and the Instagram followers. I was the quiet one who liked books and coding and being left alone. When our parents died in a car accident in 2017, the grief split us differently. Vanessa grieved loudly, posted tributes on social media, organized the memorial service, gave a tearful eulogy in front of 300 people. I grieved silently, alone in my childhood bedroom, going through Mom's things and finding the letters she'd written me over the years. The will reading happened 2 weeks after the funeral. Everything was divided cleanly. Vanessa got the Boulder condo worth $320,000 and half the investment accounts totaling $180,000. I got the Denver house worth $750,000 and the other half of the investments. Vanessa was furious. "The house is worth more than twice what I got," she said to the estate attorney. "This isn't fair. Your mother specifically noted that Maya had been living in the Denver property and maintaining it for the past 2 years," the attorney explained. "The will states that she receives primary ownership in recognition of her caretaking role." Caretaking? She was living rent-free. I had been living there. But not rent-free. I'd been paying the mortgage since 2015, when Mom got sick and Dad's medical bills started piling up. But I'd never mentioned this to Vanessa because Vanessa had been busy with her marketing career in Boulder and her wedding planning and her life. "The division was your mother's choice," the attorney said. "If you want to contest it, you can, but I should warn you that the will is very clearly written." Vanessa didn't contest it. But she stopped speaking to me for 6 months. When we finally reconciled at Christmas 2017, she brought it up over wine. "I'm over the house thing," she said. "I get it. Mom always liked you better." "That's not true. It's fine. You were the baby. You stayed close. I moved away, built my own life. That's just how it is." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Just don't forget that it's still the family home. It's not really just yours." I should have corrected her then. Should have explained that the will was explicit, that the house was mine legally and completely. But I didn't want to fight. So I said nothing. And Vanessa heard silence as agreement. What Vanessa didn't know, what nobody knew, was that I didn't just inherit the house. I'd been saving it. When Mom got diagnosed with cancer in 2014, Dad's consulting work dried up. He took family leave to care for her, and suddenly the $5,800 monthly mortgage on the Denver house became impossible. I was 26, working as a software engineer at a startup, making $110,000 a year. I was single, lived simply, had been saving aggressively since college. Dad called me one night, crying. "We're going to lose the house." "No, you're not. Maya, we're 3 months behind. The bank is threatening foreclosure. I've borrowed from everyone I can. I don't know what to do. Let me handle it." I paid off the back mortgage, $17,400. Then I set up automatic payments from my account to cover the monthly $5,800. Told Dad it was a loan, that he could pay me back when things stabilized. He died before he could pay back a single dollar. From 2015 to 2017, I paid $139,200 keeping my parents in their home while they died. After they died, I kept paying. Because it was my home now. My responsibility. My investment. By 2019, I'd paid $278,400 toward a mortgage on a house Vanessa thought she was entitled to share. I never told her. Never mentioned the years of payments, the sacrifices I'd made to keep the house afloat. Just kept quietly paying while she posted Instagram photos from her Boulder condo and complained about how unfair the inheritance was. And now she was standing in my kitchen, telling me I could have the basement. I spent that weekend moving my things out of the upstairs bedrooms. Not because I was planning to stay in the basement, I had other plans, but because I wanted Vanessa to think everything was going according to her vision. She and Brad moved in on Sunday. The movers brought furniture, kids' toys, boxes labeled master bedroom and Ethan's room. Vanessa directed traffic like a general commanding troops. "Be careful with that dresser. That goes in the master. Not there, there." I carried my clothes to the basement. Set up a temporary workspace at the small desk down there. Made it look like I was settling in. Sunday night, Vanessa knocked on the basement door. "Hey. We're ordering pizza. Want to join us for family dinner?" "I'm good. Thanks though." "Maya, come on. Don't be like that. This is going to be great once you get used to it." I opened the door. Smiled. "I'm just tired from moving. I'll join you guys next time." She looked relieved. "Okay. Good. I was worried you were upset." "I'm fine." Monday morning at 6 a.m., I loaded my car with my laptop, important documents, and enough clothes for 2 weeks. Left the rest in the basement to maintain appearances. Then I drove to my actual apartment, the one I'd bought in Cherry Creek 18 months earlier, the one Vanessa didn't know existed because I'd never mentioned it. I'd bought it with cash, $890,000 for a 2,200 square foot penthouse with mountain views. Paid for with the accumulated wealth I'd been building since I was 23. Investments, stock options from 3 successful startups, real estate holdings Vanessa had no idea existed. The Denver house was just one property in a portfolio worth $3.2 million. But Vanessa thought I was a single woman living alone in a house that was too big for me, probably struggling with the mortgage, definitely in need of her guidance. I made coffee in my actual kitchen, sat in my actual living room, and waited. The bank called Vanessa on Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. I know because she called me at 9:04 a.m., her voice shrill with panic. Maya, the bank just called about the mortgage. They said it's $5,800 and it's due in 5 days. I was in a meeting with my financial advisor. Put Vanessa on speaker. Okay. Okay? Maya, that's $5,800. How have you been paying that? With money. Don't be cute. I thought the mortgage was like $2,000. Maybe $2,500. How is it $5,800? It's a $750,000 house in Denver. What did you think the mortgage would be? Silence. Then, I didn't. I thought Mom and Dad had it mostly paid off. They didn't. But that's $5,800 a month. Maya, that's $70,000 a year. $69,600. Yes. How have you been paying that on your salary? I manage. You can't possibly, she stopped. Wait. Brad and I can't afford $5,800 a month. That's more than our entire household budget. That's unfortunate. Maya. This isn't funny. We just moved in. We gave up our condo. We have a baby coming. You have to help us figure this out. Figure what out? How to afford this? We'll split it, obviously. Half and half. That's $2,900 each. That's still insane, but we can maybe. I'm not paying half, Vanessa. What do you mean you're not paying half? You live here. I live in the basement. You took the master bedroom, both upstairs bedrooms, the main living areas. That's 2,800 square feet for you, 1,000 for me. If we're splitting by square footage, you owe 74% of the mortgage. That's $4,292. We can't afford that. Then you should have thought about that before moving in. Her voice went ice cold. You knew about this. You knew the mortgage was this high and you didn't tell me. You didn't ask. I'm your sister. You're the sister who showed up with a U-Haul and announced you were taking over my house. You're the sister who offered me the basement in my own home. You're the sister who said I should be grateful for the company. I kept my voice level. You made a decision without asking about costs. That's on you. We'll just sell the house then. We'll force a sale. I'm entitled to half. No, you're not. The will. The will left the house to me. Explicitly. Solely. To Maya Catherine Foster, the property located at 2847 Magnolia Drive, Denver, Colorado, in recognition of her dedicated caretaking and financial support. I'd memorize that line. You got the Boulder condo. I got this house. There is no shared ownership, Vanessa. There never was. You're lying. Call the estate attorney. His number is in Mom's contact list. She hung up. 30 seconds later, she called back. If you own the house, why didn't you stop us from moving in? Because I wanted to see if you'd actually go through with it. If you'd actually show up at my house, announce you were taking it over, and relegate me to the basement without even asking if I was okay with it. I paused. You did. So now you know what kind of person you are. Maya, please. We have nowhere else to go. You have 5 days to figure it out. That's when the mortgage is due. 5 days? We can't find a place in 5 days. You found a way to move in over one weekend. I'm sure you'll figure something out. I hung up. Vanessa called 17 times over the next 2 hours. I declined every call. She texted. Pick up the phone. We need to talk about this. Brad is freaking out. I'll pay you back for all the mortgage payments you made, I promise. How much have you paid? We can work out a plan. I replied to that one. I've paid the $5,800 monthly mortgage since January 2015. That's 105 months. $609,000 total. Plus the $17,400 I paid to save the house from foreclosure when Mom was sick. $626,400 total. Her response: what? Then, that's not possible. Then, you're lying to make me feel bad. I sent her a PDF of my bank statements. Every single $5,800 payment, highlighted. January 2015 through present day. 9 years of payments. $626,400. Documented. She didn't respond for 3 hours. Then, why didn't you tell me? I wrote back, why didn't you ask? Brad called me that evening. He sounded defeated. Maya, I'm sorry. Vanessa didn't know. I didn't know. We thought the house was mostly paid off. We thought you'd been living there for free all these years. And you thought you'd just move in without discussing finances. Vanessa said it was the family home. That you'd understand. He sighed. Look, we screwed up. Can we please work something out? We literally have nowhere to go. The condo lease ended. We have a 3-year-old and a baby coming. You can stay until the mortgage payment is due. Friday at 5 p.m. After that, if the payment isn't made, I'm filing for eviction. We can't pay $5,800 in 5 days. Then I suggest you start looking for temporary housing. Maya, please. Vanessa is crying. Ethan keeps asking why Mommy is upset. You're going to make your nephew homeless. I'm not making anyone homeless, Brad. Vanessa made a choice to move into a house without understanding the financial obligations. That's not my fault. You could have told her. She could have asked. She could have said, hey Maya, what are the monthly costs? Can we afford this? Should we look at the mortgage documents? She could have done any of that. Instead, she showed up with a U-Haul and told me I could have the basement. Brad was quiet for a long moment. What do you want from us? Nothing. I want you out of my house. And then what? You'll just live there alone in 3,800 square feet. No, actually. I have other plans for the property. But those plans don't include Vanessa. I hung up. Vanessa appeared at my actual apartment on Wednesday evening. I don't know how she found it, probably hired a private investigator or tracked my phone or asked around. But she was standing in the lobby when I came home from the gym. Nice place, she said, looking around at the Cherry Creek high-rise. When did you buy this? 18 months ago. With what money? My money. She followed me into the elevator. You own an apartment and the house. I own 3 properties, actually. The Denver house, this penthouse, and a rental property in Boulder that generates $4,200 monthly. Her face went pale. How do you have money for 3 properties? I'm a senior software architect. I've worked in tech for 12 years. I've had stock options in 3 companies that went public. I invest wisely. I live below my means. I pressed the button for the 14th floor. I'm actually quite successful, Vanessa. You just never noticed because you were too busy assuming I was barely getting by. You let me think you were struggling. I never said I was struggling. You assumed it. Just like you assumed the house was too big for me. Just like you assumed you had a right to move in. You've been assuming things about my life for years without ever asking if your assumptions were correct. The elevator doors opened. She followed me to my apartment. Inside, she looked around at the space, the custom furniture, the art, the floor-to-ceiling windows with mountain views. This is $1 million apartment. $890,000. I paid cash. She sat down on my couch without asking. I don't understand. If you have all this money, why didn't you just pay off the house mortgage? Why would I? The interest rate is 3.2%. My investments return 8 to 12% annually. It makes more financial sense to keep the mortgage and invest the capital. That's not what I mean. I mean, why did you let me move in if you knew I couldn't afford it? I sat across from her. Because I wanted you to face the reality of what you were doing. You showed up at my house, that I've been paying for since Mom got sick, and announced you were taking it over. You didn't ask. You didn't offer to contribute. You didn't even acknowledge that I might have been carrying a financial burden all these years. You just assumed. I didn't know you'd been paying the mortgage. Why didn't you know, Vanessa? Why didn't you wonder how a 28-year-old was affording a $750,000 house? Why didn't you ask what happened after Mom and Dad died, how the house stayed out of foreclosure, who was keeping it afloat? She looked away. I thought Mom and Dad had it handled. They didn't. They were dying. And I handled it. I paid $626,400 to keep them in their home, to make sure they didn't lose everything while they were sick. My voice stayed level. And you thought you could just move in and take over because the house was too big for me. Tears started running down her face. I'm sorry. For what? For moving in without asking. For assuming you'd be okay with it. She stopped. For not seeing you. For not asking about your life. For spending years thinking you were the little sister who needed my guidance when really you were the one holding everything together. Anything else? For being jealous of the inheritance and making you feel bad about getting the house when you'd already paid for it 3 times over. I let that sit for a moment. You have until Friday at 5 p.m., I said. After that, the locks change and your belongings get put in storage. Maya, please. Can't we work something out? I'll pay rent. I'll cover half the mortgage going forward. We'll sign a contract. No. Why not? Because I don't want you in my house, Vanessa. I don't want to live in the basement while you take over the space I paid for. I don't want to watch you raise your kids in the home I saved. I don't want to spend the next decade being treated like a tenant in my own property. Then what are you going to do with it? I'm selling it. I already have a buyer interested. $1.4 million, cash offer, quick close. The house has appreciated significantly since Mom and Dad died. Her eyes went wide. $1.4 million. Yes. Which means after the remaining mortgage is paid off, I'll net approximately $950,000. Which I'll invest in commercial real estate. I stood up. You need to leave now. Can I ask you one thing? What? Did you ever actually plan to let us stay? Or was this whole thing just to teach me a lesson? I thought about that. Both. I wanted to see if you'd really go through with taking over my house. And when you did, I wanted you to understand what you'd done. Consider it a lesson in asking questions before making assumptions. She left without another word. They were gone by Thursday. I came back to the Denver house Thursday evening to find it empty. Vanessa and Brad had cleared out, taken all their things, left the keys on the kitchen counter. There was a note. Maya, I'm sorry. You're right about everything. I never asked. I never saw you. I was so focused on what I thought was fair that I never considered what was true. I hope someday you can forgive me. V. I read it once, then put it in the drawer with all of Mom's old letters. The house was immaculate. They'd even cleaned before leaving. I walked through the empty rooms, the master bedroom where Mom died, the living room where Dad taught me to code, the kitchen where we'd had our last Christmas together in 2016. Then I called my realtor. The house is empty. Let's move forward with the sale. You're sure? That's your childhood home. I'm sure. I have what I need from it. Time to let someone else make it theirs. The sale closed in 30 days. $1.4 million cash. I netted $967,000 after paying off the remaining mortgage. I invested it in a commercial property in downtown Denver, a 6-unit building with retail on the ground floor and offices above. Purchase price, $2.8 million. I put down $1 million, financed the rest. Rental income, $18,500 monthly. My portfolio hit $4.1 million. Vanessa sent me a Christmas card. Inside was a photo of her family, Brad, Ethan, and a newborn baby girl. On the back, she'd written, Maya, we're in a smaller place now. 1,800 square feet in Littleton. Brad got a promotion. We're making it work. I think about what happened every day. I think about all the years I didn't ask you how you were really doing. I'm trying to be better. Merry Christmas. Love, V. I sent back a card with a simple message. Congratulations on the baby. Glad you're doing well. We had lunch in January. She asked about my work, my properties, my life. Actually asked. Actually listened. I told everyone, she said over coffee. Mom's friends, our cousins, everyone who knew about the inheritance drama. I told them you'd been paying the mortgage since before Mom and Dad died. That you'd carried $626,000 in payments while I complained about the inheritance being unfair. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. They all thought you got the better deal. They needed to know the truth. She looked at me carefully. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why didn't you just tell me back then? When I was complaining about the will. Why didn't you say you'd been paying the mortgage? Would you have believed me? She thought about that. Probably not. I would have thought you were exaggerating or making excuses. Exactly. Some lessons you can only learn through experience. Expensive lesson. For both of us. We have lunch now, once a month. The conversations are careful, but they are honest. She asks about my real estate investments. I ask about her kids. We're rebuilding something. That might eventually be a real relationship. But she'll never live in one of my properties again. And she'll never again assume I'm the little sister who needs guidance. The commercial building in downtown Denver just got appraised at $3.4 million. My portfolio is now worth $4.9 million. I'm 35 years old and financially independent. People ask why I didn't just tell Vanessa about the mortgage payments from the beginning. Why I let her move in. Why I let it get so far. The answer is simple. Because some people don't see you until you force them to look. Vanessa thought I was struggling. Thought I needed her help. Thought the house was wasted on me because I was alone and probably barely affording it. She thought these things because she never asked. Never wondered. Never looked past her assumptions. So I let her act on those assumptions. And when reality crashed into her fantasy, when the $5,800 mortgage payment came due, when she realized I'd been carrying $626,400 in payments for 9 years, when she understood that I owned 3 properties worth millions, she finally saw me. Not as her little sister who needed guidance. But as the person I'd always been, strategic, successful, and perfectly capable of carrying burdens she never imagined. My name is Maya Foster. I'm a senior software architect with a $4.9 million real estate portfolio. My sister tried to take over my house. The next morning, she learned I'd been paying the $5,800 mortgage since 2015. She moved out in 4 days. She sees me clearly now.